let's start with DNH7. So this specimen is DNH7.
Paleoanthropologist Stephanie Edwards-Baker says women in the field are deemed as less intelligent.
Well, I suppose you're faced with the inherent challenges that most women are faced with within the workplace, where there's unequal opportunities. Female academics in particular, as you get higher up in the food chain, are often tend to be referred to as difficult or underappreciated, and that's something that needs to change, is that women within the field actually tend to be deemed, I don't know, less intelligent than male counterparts. We don't tend to be on the front line as often as what you would see your male counterparts. So you see the famous male paleoanthropologists and male scientists as a whole on the forefront of media and newsreels and outbreaks, but very rarely is the same attention given to female scientists who are just as good or have facilitated the process. That is changing now, definitely, in small ways. You see with the Malapa team that females have taken a forefront approach, as with Rising Star. But behind the scenes, it's also, I think, there's been some interesting studies that have been done with scientists as a whole, not just specifically within paleoanthropology, where people deem good-looking or ultra-feminine female scientists as less intelligent than male counterparts, which is unfortunate. There's always the stereotype, of course, of, well, if you've done your hair, if you've put on mascara, then clearly you're not an intelligent or serious scientist, and you should look kind of frumpy and gross. But then the public doesn't really want to see you as much, do they? So there's a trade-off there. One of the other difficulties is a lot of people think that whilst this is a lab-based field, it's also a very heavy fieldwork component to it. And so we have to be out excavating in the sun, carrying large things, and a lot of people tend to think that females aren't capable of being there up front and center and helping carry big buckets of sediment and lift heavy rocks along with their male counterparts, but that's clearly untrue. The field season actually that we've just run at Dreamland was very female dominant, with only one male being there for the entire season, and we excavated it just fine.
Chemistry professor Nozi Pomoloto says women in the field do not finish their first degree.
In the chemistry field, they probably in the first year class, like when you the very first year of university, there are enough women, but there's, for some reason, they don't finish the first degree, and then as you go higher and higher, it becomes less and less. I mean, I think it's the usual story of all the sciences.
The award-winning KwaMashu-born professor who specializes in nanotechnology says, as women working in science, it's hard to balance family life and work life.
As a woman in chemistry, which I guess is the same as a woman in science, is that I guess as a working woman, let me say in general, it's very hard to balance family life and work life. And also being in a field that is dominated by men, sometimes it's a bit of a challenge if you're gonna have to leave for a couple of months for maternity leave, and in academia there's a chase for papers. You must attend conferences, you must go overseas, you have to contend with that with your partner, that you have to leave your family, go overseas for months if you really want to make it. So there are many challenges, to a point where most women feel that they need to choose. Is it family life or is it work life?
Astrophysicist Emily Wallace says there are still few women in the field.
One of the largest challenges that I face studying as a student at FITS is that there are very few women role models in my field. Particularly in physics and astrophysics, I don't have any lecturers that are women. I also don't know any role models in the country at this point. I'm sure they're out there, but they're certainly not in the spotlight that I have seen. So one of the biggest issues is figuring out what's possible for me, what sort of career goals I can set for myself that are reasonable, and also how would I get into the industry? How would I network with an international community of physicists?
Meanwhile, Northwest-born botanist Refilo Kai says the fieldwork is demanding as a woman working in her field.
As a woman, when you are working in the botany, broad term botany field, a lot of field work is done. So you find that the challenges are going to the field as a woman, spending few days there, and it can be uncomfortable for most women. Another thing is the things that we work with. I mean, you find that when you're going to field or when you're doing your experiments, you have to carry your own heavy equipment. That can also be a challenge as a woman. But otherwise, I find that doing your propagation, lab work, and writing up and such things in the field do not cause any type of challenge as working in it. But then as a woman, if you're a mother, if you're a wife, it can take, not that it takes away from your time, but being a wife and a mother can also impact on you getting enough time to actually do your work.